Okay, it is 7:30, so I will call the Committee of the Whole meeting to order. It's Tuesday, March 28th. First item on the agenda is roll call.
Rosado?
Here.
Atack? Start? Here. Chanzik?
Here.
Wolf?
Here.
Salvati?
Here.
Brown?
Here.
O'Brien?
Here.
Callahan?
Here.
Meitzler?
Here.
Mueller? Here. Boderman?
Here.
Saron?
Here.
And McFadden?
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum. Next item is item 2, which is items removed, added, or changed. I know of none. Laura, do we have anything?
None.
Okay. Item 3, matters from the public for items that are not on the agenda. Does anybody from the public have anything for us that's not on the agenda? Moving on to item 4, which is consent agenda. We have item A, which is Resolution 17-42-R, requesting permit from IDOT for closures of various roadways for the 2017 Triathlon Special Event. Memo came out from Gary Holm on 3/10 of this year, obviously. Anybody have any questions or comments on that? Okay, can I get a motion?
Move that we approve the consent agenda as read.
Second.
Motion by Stark, second by Chanzik, to recommend the City Council Resolution 17-42-R. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Next item is item 5, Resolution 17-45-R, authorizing execution of a contract to purchase land at Wilson Street and Spearler Drive. Alderman Stark.
I have it. So on December 19th, we asked staff to re-advertise this property for sale. This is at the corner of West Wilson and Spearler Drive. We received a single bid at the advertised minimum bid price of $91,000. Several terms were included in the bid specifically relating to zoning entitlements for the property to be granted prior to closing. Staff drafted a contract to sell the property subject to the conditions in the bid, and a copy is attached to the memo. The purchaser has 180 days after the date of contract to obtain the required zoning for the proposed development. Its intended development is 6-lot single-family development. And if we don't approve it, if the zoning changes aren't approved, they have the ability to terminate the contract without penalty, which is very similar to what we did before, if not exactly similar. So our alternatives are, of course, to approve the resolution, to allow execution of the contract to sell the land, not approve it, or request the staff to amend the contract in some manner. Of course, the pro is if we sell this, we will put it back on the tax rolls. Cons, we wouldn't have control over their property anymore, which I don't think is a big hardship to us. And the budget impact, we would get the $91,000 revenue, and then any additional tax revenues, building and zoning and permit fees. There's no impact on staffing. So timeline, we need to get this going as quickly as possible, which is why Scott has brought it to us. We need to have the title commitment and plat of survey prepared after the contract is signed. So staff recommends, of course, that we sell this plat of land to the developer, again, based on the contingencies that he's put on it with regard to zoning. So, does anyone have any questions? I looked up, it was not Scott. No, Jeff.
Scott.
I have one question.
Okay.
There's signage going up, right, informing whoever wants to know by looking at the signs that the zoning is being proposed to be changed?
Yeah, that will be part of the zoning process, is the notifications for all the surrounding neighbors and everybody.
When does that go up, Jeff? Do you know? How far in advance?
It has to be, I believe, at least, I think it's between 15 and 30 days. So, I mean, they get at least 2 months, or two weeks to a month notice.
Okay. As you know, Drew and I represent that area, and I just ran into one of the homeowners that was very concerned over the last proposal the other day, and she asked me if anything was happening, so I told her to keep her eye out for a sign that may be going up.
We've had a meeting with the proposed developer and have seen very preliminary concept level plans. They have to make some tweaks to it. There's an AT&T vault or piece of equipment in one corner of the property that's causing some issues, and AT&T has basically refused to move it or do anything with it. So they're going to have to make a little tweak to the design, but they will be moving forward with that.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Mike?
So the surrounding neighbors then have no idea what's going on here. Have we not heard anything from them?
No, it has not been put out for for any public hearings or any notification yet. That will be coming, but it has not been put out yet.
They know it's for sale. And
Yeah, they know it's for sale.
That's going on.
So, I mean, I guess, I just think, in our community here, we have a lot of different subdivisions that are half-acre sites and got a single-family home on it. Now we're going to put 6 single-family homes on a half-acre site. I just have some conflict with that. I don't know why, but it just seems like it's pretty dense. So I just want someone to sell me on it, I guess, what do you think property taxes, obviously, since we're not getting property tax now, we will get property tax. What do you think that would be? Do we have any kind of projections on that?
Not yet, no,
Okay.
not yet at this point.
No, Mike, the neighbors directly to the south are townhouses, so when you talk about density, that's pretty dense comparatively. And then before that, the proposal that was before us were apartments, many more apartments than these 6 single-family homes. So the neighbors will have their opportunity to talk once we have the public hearing. It'll be interesting to see the concept drawings, to see what the houses look like, and, are they 1,000-square-foot houses? Are they,
500-square-foot houses?
Well, the
Little
developer's
yard?
here. Does he want to say anything? Yes, no?
It's up to you. You can if you'd like.
You don't have to, Kevin.
You don't need to.
I'll answer any questions that you may have that might be of help.
Sure, if you'd like to speak, go ahead. If you want to state your name for the record, that would be great. Thank you.
Sure, I'm Kevin Stowe, and submitted the contract to staff, and we've now finalized it. And the concept is for 6 high-density, single-family lots. Preliminary sketches indicate that the houses will be able to fit on the lots. There will be somewhere between 1,400 and 1,500 square feet. As you can imagine, we are aiming at a market that isn't really available right now in Batavia at a lower price point, certainly higher price points in Batavia. So the 6 single-family lots is considerably less dense than what was proposed and what the current zoning would allow.
Great. Anybody have any questions to the developer? Well, it'll go to public hearing, obviously, and then we'll see you back many times, I think.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so does anyone have any more questions of Jeff or Laura or anybody? Okay, so would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make the motion that we recommend to council Resolution 17-45-R, authorizing execution of a contract to purchase vacant land, the sale of land at West Wilson and Spooler Drive. Second.
Motion by Wolf, second by Chancet. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, so that'll go to the city council this coming Monday? Okay. All right, next item is item 6, ordinance 17-26, an ordinance authorizing and providing for the issue of a not to exceed $30 million sewage revenue bonds from the IEPA of the city of Batavia for the purpose of paying for the cost of the necessary improvements to the sewage system of the city, prescribing all of the details of the said bond and providing for collection, segregation, and distribution of the revenues of the said system for the payment of said bonds. Memo from Peggy Colby. And Laura, do you want to take this, or are we just going to start right out with
Gary.
Gary's going to take
Yeah,
it?
there's actually not much to go through. Really what happened is we've already taken action to say that we want to get the loan through the state. And as part of that state process, we have to take a number of steps, this being one of them, that we now have to pass a bond ordinance. And as Peggy states in here, the way it is set up is basically we can't be modifying the ordinance and that it needs to go onto the regular agenda, not a consent agenda item. We've already approved the contract, of course, through the contractor. So we've already kind of taken all the steps. This is one of the last legal steps we need to take in order to get the low interest loan through the state.
I make a motion, we recommend city council passage of ordinance 17-26 as presented.
Second.
Motion by O'Brien, second by Salvati. And I just want to make one comment since we are on TV and so everybody has an opportunity to hear that this is a $30 million loan that we're taking out at this point. And this is the first phase of a multi-phase, many more $1 million project that we're undertaking here with the city of Batavia. Gary, is it 48 million projected total, or 48 or 63? We got so many projects going on.
This is about half of the project right here, so you're in that 60 million range.
Yeah.
Over the next decade.
And just so people know, I mean, we're being mandated by the state to
Right,
do a lot of this
this
work.
project consists of improvements that are dictated by regulations. And this project also includes the improvements that, of simply equipment that's worn out. I mean,
Right.
from the mid-90s, which we're now replacing.
And some expansion also.
Not this project. This project
Not
is
this
expansion.
project,
The
but the
ultimate,
whole- the
ultimate
ultimate
project
project.
will include some
Correct.
expansion, correct. Yep.
Marty?
Purely coincidental, but this week I found a 1915 report on the Fox Valley, or the Fox River, and the improvements by the state of what they were requiring. And there's a full chapter in there about pollution. And 102 years ago, the city of Batavia wouldn't pay for some of the things that they were required to. And also Elgin didn't and Aurora didn't. But to be delicate, the way the river was back then and the description of it, I'm glad I didn't live here 102 years ago.
I could light it on
It's,
fire. Yeah.
ooh, it's pretty nasty.
You know, and I probably most of you can attest to the same thing. Growing up, I never used to see eagles. Never. I mean, and it's only in the last few years, like my daughter growing up now is used to seeing eagles, and we never saw those growing up. Now you see them, and it's a testament to how healthy the river has gotten.
Yeah, it talked about, and this is 1915, 1914, there was no fish in the river.
Yeah.
They would stock it periodically, but due to the levels of chemicals and raw sewage that was in there, it would kill off animals left and right. People would get sick all the time.
Yep.
So it was enlightening.
Any other comments?
The other thing I
Ellen?
would say is after us going downstate, that this is part of the state Illinois EPA loan program, and it's at a very substantially reduced rate than what we would pay if we went out onto the open market, especially given how poor Illinois' ratings are and the ability of anybody to go out and borrow money without programs like this would be really difficult right now in Illinois.
Anyone else? Mayor, did you have any comments on this?
Well, I mean, we've been rebuilding this sewer plant all the years I've been mayor. We constantly have upgraded it, and there has been, enhanced federal standards every time, seemingly every few years. So Batavia, I think now really has one of the better plants, and I would hope that it would be the desire of the city council to keep it that way. And certainly this phosphorus removal, which has been on the agenda for some time, is a lot of that is what we're going to be paying for now. But I talked about this the other night at the environmental committee's movie night down here, and when I mentioned that we were about to embark on it, we got a round of applause from the crowd that we were doing this. So. I think it is something that betters the world for the future, and the costs of it are certainly going to be spread out over a long period of time at a very, as Alderman Wolf just indicated, a very attractive interest rate. And so I really look on it as a win-win for the entire community.
Just one last point, too. This didn't just happen overnight either. We've been working on this for at least eight years.
This discussion was ongoing when I got here in 2008.
Right. So it's been ongoing for a while.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second on the floor, so let's do a roll call on this one.
O'Brien?
Aye.
Callahan?
Aye.
Meitzler?
Aye.
Mueller? Aye. Boderman?
Aye.
Saron?
Aye.
McFadden?
Aye.
Rosato?
Aye.
Atack absent. Stark?
Aye.
Chanzit?
Aye.
Wolf?
Aye.
Salvati?
Aye.
And Brown.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Motion carries. Okay, so it'll go to City Council on Monday evening, regular agenda, right? Okay. Next item is item 7, Resolution 17-44-R. It's the award of a grant for the This has got some misspelling here. Award the grant for the Downtown Improvement Grant Program within the Downtown Historic District for the Circle K. Chris Aston has got this tonight, but Alderman Wolf, do you want to say anything? Or no, Alderman McFadden, do you have anything on this?
I do, as a matter of fact. This is for Harry Mehta, who's got the Shell gas station over on 31 where the Dunkin' Donuts is going in, and has reached an agreement for a new franchise opportunity for the convenience store portion of that. So he's going to fill part of his space with the Dunkin' Donuts. He'll be filling the other portion with the new Circle K convenience store. It looks like a very nice opportunity for him. So I'll let, I think, Chris take the details from here.
Thank you, Alderman. Yes, this is a request for a downtown improvement grant, a matching grant from HM1 Corporation, which is actually Harry Mehta, who's in the audience tonight, and we'll be happy to answer any questions on the project. But under this grant, as Alderman McFadden indicated, this is to allow for, actually to meet required improvements pursuant to Circle K corporate compliance for the interior of the building. So in order to get the franchise, Mr. Mehta has to do certain things in the building to upgrade it to meet the Circle K requirements. Most of the improvements are not permanent in nature with respect to actually adhering to the building. Most are equipment, like pop machines and coffee machines and shelving and signage and whatnot. But all told, the project will run about $325,000. And that doesn't include another $18,000 plus that he'll need to do for the canopy over the pumps. But because that did not apply to Dunkin' Donuts and because, to Circle K, and because many of the other improvements in the building are not permanent nature, they are also not eligible for this grant. So with respect to actual eligible costs under the 50-50 downtown matching grant, the activities are electrical improvements estimated at $10,000, plumbing improvements estimated at $10,000, flooring for the project space at $20,000, and to install a coal vault, which is like a walk-in cooler, for about $12,500. So the total amount of estimated cost, now this will be subject to bid before the any grant disbursement is made, but the total cost is about $52,450 estimated cost. This $20,000 request is leveraged against Mr. Mehta's $32,000 request, which ends up being a ratio of about 62% for Mr. Mehta, the applicant, and 38% for the city. But when you consider the entire project, the city's $20,000 will amount to about 6% of the total cost. Again, the total cost is $20,000 in the grant or 50% of the estimated cost, whichever is less. As I said, that these improvements are required to meet Circle K corporate guidelines, and we presented in the memo the estimated changes with respect to sales. It looks to be that the synergy between the three uses, according to Mr. Mehta's estimates, will increase gas sales there over double. It will also increase convenience store sales by about 2.33%, and the estimated sales of the Dunkin' Donuts itself will be about $1 million. So between this project, between what is out there in 2015, and we use 2015 as a benchmark data point because 16 sales were depressed because of the construction. We're estimating something in the neighborhood of over $2 million plus in new sales. We don't have the actual proprietary information for the public, but we have it on file, and it's the same information that Mr. Mehta presented for his private financing. So when all said and done, not counting the gas station improvements, the canopy, whatnot, Mr. Mehta has already, or ultimately will spend something in the neighborhood of about $800,000 of his own money for the improvements associated with Dunkin' Donuts. Then you add another $350,000 for the capital requirements for the Circle K franchise, and for him only to request $20,000 in grant funds to make his property really as economically prosperous as possible. We think the request for $20,000 is certainly reasonable, if not quite low compared to some of the other grants this council has approved. Further, there's good chance within the first few years of the project being completed that the property tax from the incremental value change will pay for this investment. And in either case, within the first 12 months after all three businesses are opened, you'll receive sales tax in excess and perhaps double what this $20,000 investment is being requested. So staff is recommending approval for the $20,000 matching grant. Mr. Met is here to answer any questions, and of course, I can answer any questions you might have as well.
All right. Anybody have any questions?
I got to make a comment. The applicant came down here, I got to make it worth his while to come down.
Why don't you introduce yourself?
I just want to, I'm going to support this, obviously. I think it's great what you've been doing up there, the amount of investment that you've made in this community. And I questioned you the first time you came in as to why didn't you apply for a downtown improvement grant? And you just said that that wasn't something you were wishing to do at that time. So, I mean, I'm very happy that you took it upon yourself to put the kind of investment you did into the town and to come to us now to ask for this type of application, which you're entitled to according to our program. I think is very honorable of you, and I'm very happy that you're making this kind of investment and look forward to seeing your store open.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm Harry Mehta, of course, owner of the Shell Station, and I just want to thank all the council member and aldermen and staff for their support. Yeah. It would be good improvement for the Batavia and my station.
When do you think you'll be completing the project?
Sometime in April. They're waiting for asphalt plants to open, so as soon as they can get some paving done. So paving and landscaping, that's the only two things that's left for Dunkin' Donut part of the project. And once Circle K would start, that would be sometime by end of May or June. Everything should be done.
Very good.
Well, I'm glad you got Circle K franchise, because I don't know if I would be able to support it. I mean, I always think, we try to be supportive of the local businesses, and we're using taxpayer money to do so. And we've supported some businesses downtown that have failed. And so I guess one of the things I do like is where we have this, I'm saying this so people can know that council is pro-business.
Right.
Is, we have the incubator building that people use and they grow into success. And with you getting now your franchise with Circle K, I think that's excellent for you. I think you've made quite a large investment and would not want to see you fail. And so I would support it, and I appreciate all your efforts. I know you've been before us a year ago, and it's been quite a struggle for you.
All right.
And I believe most on the council are aware of your struggle, that, it's not been easy. So I just wanted out there that we do support the businesses, and I guess that's it. Good luck to you and for many years.
Thank you. Thank you.
I was talking to some residents over the weekend about this grant and what you were actually doing up there. And I was explaining to them how originally when you came to us, your plan about how if you wanted to do it easy, you could have just bought a few locations around where you knew it would have been quicker and easier and profitable. But I think to your credit, and I think some other business owners recently that we've had in our town, we're showing significant investment of their own dollars and the level of scrutiny of what they're wanting to put in their businesses to make the entire town succeed. It's what the residents told, they were completely blown away by that you weren't just a businessman coming in to make money. The thing that stuck to me was how you wanted to be able to open a place that when it was all said and done, your wife could work there after hours and you wouldn't worry about her. And that
Exactly.
meant a
Exactly.
lot to me, so I
Yeah, she-
appreciate that.
No, thank you. Yeah, she works in the morning right now. She starts at 4:30. Batavia is beautiful town. I mean, it's safe, it's nice. And my wife, she never worked in retail before. She used to work as a paralegal, but after I got my station, she was like, okay, I would rather work here instead of traveling to Chicago, you know? So I'm like, okay, why not? And then she works in the morning by herself. It's safe. I mean, we love it here. It's beautiful. And it's really good town to do business, you know? So I really appreciate all of your support.
The great news is I'll drink about $25,000 worth of coffee in about 6 months, so
Yeah.
that's good.
I've talked to many people, and you best be well-staffed that day you open, because I know there's a bunch of people who
Yeah,
can't
no,
wait for that to
Yeah.
open so they can get their Dunkin' fix in the morning.
Dunkin' Donut franchisee, he's got 70 locations, so I'll be basically landlord. They are tenants, so they got 70 of them. They know what they're doing, so I'm okay with that.
Fabulous. All right, well, appreciate your persistence and your willingness to invest in town. I think this is going to be a great project.
Thank you.
Anybody want to make a motion? Or I'll make the motion. I recommend we approve Resolution 17-44R, award a grant under the Downtown Improvement Grant Program within the Downtown Historic District, Circle K.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Who do we have as?
Motion carries.
Okay. Okay, so motion's carried. It'll go to city council on Monday evening. Thank you. Okay, then next item is item 8, which is project status. Laura?
There was some activity over at the Larson Becker buildings today. Our fire department took the opportunity to do some training over there whenever we have vacant buildings that are going to undergo demolition. It's a nice opportunity for the fire department to get some training opportunities that they would not otherwise have. And they had most of our equipment out there today, including the ladder truck, training on punching holes in the roof and in the sides of the building, filling the building with smoke and doing rescues. So it was a really nice way to utilize that opportunity. The contractor is expected to begin demolition work as early as tomorrow, right, Gary? On the branding project, the consultant sent us a link to the community survey, and we've posted that to our homepage and also to our Facebook page. We also sent it to everyone who is signed up to receive electronic messages, email messages from the city. The Chamber of Commerce also sent out a message to their email list with this survey. We hope to get at least 1,000 responses to the survey, so encourage everybody here and anybody listening to share the link for that community survey.
Is that something that I know we talked about in that meeting, to be able to coordinate with the school district, to be able to send that out to their list, which is ginormous?
Yes, I will contact them tomorrow and ask them about that.
Do they have that backpack mail program that goes out to all the kids? So.
Great. I'm happy to announce that the new communications coordinator will begin on April 3rd. Chris Cudworth was a resident of the city of Batavia for more than 20 years, and he just recently moved, but just over the border into North Aurora. Chris started his career as a journalist, and most recently he's been working as a marketing consultant for a variety of public and private entities. He has a really broad range of knowledge, and we think that his skills and the passion that he has for this community are really going to make him a success in this role. I look forward to introducing you to Chris in person at the City Council meeting on Monday. Wanted to bring an update about the community garbage collection during construction for those River Street businesses. City staff would really like to thank Katrina Reutberg and also Manny and Joe Martinez. Gary sent a message out to them, and I think it was like within 48 hours that both of those businesses responded positively, that they'd be happy to communicate, cooperate with their neighbors on allowing a garbage receptacle to be placed on their property throughout the construction project. That was really nice of them to do. So right now it looks like the Martinez's Alley is going to be the best and most feasible space to place this receptacle, and we are looking at a combination receptacle and compactor to try to allow for the maximum amount of garbage in the least amount of space as possible. Also wanted to bring up that in the Piggly Brown issue, there's been a lot of report on social media about Piggly, and it was only just the last cow that Mr. Brown asked us to look further into this matter. And we had said that we were going to discuss it in a month from now, but I'm wondering if maybe you would like to discuss it sooner than that, and if you would like me to provide any sample ordinances. What do you think?
Well, we don't have a meeting next week,
Right.
so it's going to be 2 weeks from now anyway. Let's just leave it at the 1 month time that we established.
Okay. All right, and we did send out a copy of our current ordinance, and I can send you also, I'll include on that meeting, perhaps some samples of what other cities have done.
I emailed Laura today, and until it was in my recollection that we asked his owner to keep him on a leash. That was my recollection, and whether we did or didn't, I didn't go back and watch the tape. But until we decide, I think it is very important that he leash the pig, because people, when he crosses Wilson Street, he stops traffic because he just crosses in front of cars. And, he roots around in the flower beds that our Public Works Department worked very hard to plant. And these are things that, it doesn't make me look favorably at having a pig wandering around in town. So, I mean, so many people enjoy having him in town, we wouldn't let a dog do that if someone had their dog on a leash or didn't have their dog on a leash. So if we just held them to the minimum standards right now of leashing and not letting them tear up the city flower beds, that would be terrific.
I also wanted to follow up on the parking issue that we discussed at the last meeting. The memo act that I sent out actually had a typo in it. It said that only the south end of Art Stop would be no time limit parking. And after further discussion among staff and at the request of Batavia Main Street, we'll designate all of Art Stop as no time limit parking due to the number of proximate employees to that parking lot. And so far, the memo seems to be well received. I heard from one employer who sent me a copy of the memo that they then sent out to all of their employees, notifying them that they should start using these parking lots. So that's good. Also wanted to report on the gas station, right on Wilson Street, that has recently been purchased. We're happy to report that we've received an application for demolition permit for the building and canopy on that property. So it'll be very nice to clear those out of there. And that's what I have for the project status, unless anybody has any questions.
Any questions of Laura? No? Okay, thanks, Laura.
Sure.
Next item we have is others. Anybody have an other?
I have one thing.
Scott?
So just a shout out to Gary and Rahat and Howard, actually. And I'm really glad Chris is going to be starting. That's going to be fantastic.
Yes.
So on Nextdoor, someone had brought up a question on the bidding process, specifically for the blacktop over at Larson Becker. And they had a question on whether if it went through the process, which, I made a comment, it went through procedure as we have outlined, and then some other people threw down as far as, well, this isn't on, the bid is no longer on the website. And so I talked to Gary, and he got together with Rahat and Howard, and there was some inconsistency as to bids that had been open or once they were awarded, they were closed, but they were still on there, and some were and some weren't. So they went through and they just adjusted their procedure to say everything, once it's awarded, it's closed and it's off the site. So now everything's consistent. So, and that's, I think, at the very least, what needed to be done is just, adjust the procedure quickly. So, shout out to you guys, you did a great job of adjusting quickly, and I was able to respond and got thanked on Nextdoor.
Okay, any others? Marty?
Laura, I had sent you the IT consolidation report that a trustee from Yorkville had sent me because Yorkville and Oswego are considering consolidating their IT departments, and several other communities in Illinois are starting to do that. I know you were aware of it already beforehand. Is there any plan that we're going to explore it, think about it? Because from my understanding, these savings could be significant, sort of along the lines of TRICOM.
I can't say that we have considered an IT consortium specifically, but one of the things that we've been talking about in staff meetings all year is, in light of what's going on at the state level, that we would really like to look for any and all ways to try to collaborate with our neighbors to create an economy of scale where we can perhaps get a better purchasing price by banding together and collaborating. And one example of that that's going on right now is we found out that both we and Geneva and TRICOM are all doing wage studies this year. So we're going to band together and do one RFP for all three entities. And by doing so, we're hoping that we'll get a reduced cost from whomever does the ultimate study. So we're looking for those opportunities every single day.
Good, I appreciate that.
Sure thing.
I appreciate that you already knew about it. Too.
Mike?
Dave sent out an email, and I think it was yesterday, and there was a question on that regarding the retreat. Well, I didn't go. I had to work that day, but I thought maybe I didn't get anything because I didn't participate, any kind of feedback. My question is, was there feedback from that, and what did that cost the city?
So we each received based upon the assessment that we took. So if you took an assessment, there was a report that was generated back. And that report we used the day that we had the retreat as the basis for the morning's discussion. In the afternoon, we discussed more how we run our meetings and what we want to do in terms of strategic planning in the future. Following that day, unfortunately, I've been really disappointed in the follow-up from the consultants. I have contacted her a number of times. I've been promised that she's going to give us our consolidated report and recommendations, and I've never received it. So her contract was for $14,000. She asked for 50% down on that in the beginning. I've never received an invoice for the second half of that, but I'm continuing to follow up with her for her to provide those things that she promised to us. But I think that, and I responded perhaps only to Dave about this earlier this morning, but I look at it as my responsibility to make sure that we get the value out of those things that we paid for. So I'm committing to doing just that, because I do think that there are certainly ways that we can benefit from what we have already been provided. It's just that people need to be provided an example of how those things can be used. But I'd say it's a pretty disappointing experience from a professional services standpoint.
Right. I mean, I was not there, but I figure everybody else was there. I mean, they invested a day, a Saturday, and they should get something back for that, some sort of a heads up or direction or feedback.
Well, certainly, if you haven't received, even if you did receive the other half of the invoice, it's not going to get paid until we get what,
Absolutely not. Yeah, absolutely not.
Thank you.
anything else? Just quickly, then I'll comment on that email that I sent out. You all got it, you all read it. It was my thoughts on ideas that we could, or conversations that we could have on a slow meeting night. Please, if somebody else has an idea, agrees or disagrees, we can't do the group respond to all things, so at least let Laura know what your thoughts are on it, whether you agree, disagree, what, maybe you got ideas that I didn't have. Let her know so she can kind of start working with staff on some of these things that we said we want to talk about.
Yep.
Okay, that it? No others?
I move we adjourn.
Motion by O'Brien, second by Wolf. All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourn.